welcome to the second episode of tomorrow's Podiatry Journal Club, hosted by my colleague Sarah Jane and myself, Sarah. This is a show in which we aim to take you through a journey to demystify research and remove barriers students and podiatrists may feel when it comes to accessing, understanding, and discussing research, while also really highlighting the practicality of using research in our daily practice. If you were with us last week, we discussed why bother reading papers. So through talking through the benefits of using evidence-based practice for patient outcomes, to research empowering practitioners and building confidence, we tried to highlight the importance of including research as part of your clinical decision making. So if you missed last week, you can find it on the Facebook page. And this week, we're going to take you through how to form a question, types of information available, and how to search for journals on a database. So myself and Sarah Jane were just speaking earlier about how sometimes the most difficult part of researching is figuring out where to start. So we were chatting about, is it something that you're interested in? Is it something that you're stumped by in clinic, or you want to get a better outcome for in clinic? Or are you a student and you have an assignment that you need to get done and you need to do a lit review for? So I suppose it's really about figuring out how to get going is what we're going to cover today. So hello, SJ.
Hi, well done. I think the first one, research is always a funny one, isn't it? I think those that love it really love it, and then I don't know, some of us all kind of sit somewhere in the outskirts of it, isn't it? It's not something that everybody enjoys, but hopefully through this we can make it a bit more accessible, and something that we can, hopefully you'll learn something and we'll break down some barriers to it. So as Sarah had said, when you're searching for something, why would you? I mean, to be honest, like the last show a month ago, we discussed why bother doing research, right? We went into it, why bother doing it. But, say you've got this thing that you then want to start looking at. So whether you're looking at, for both me and Sarah, we're both interested primarily in MSK. So that's our happy place. But tonight we've chosen a subject that neither of us really, it's not really our thing. No, but we chose that deliberately. So we're going to be searching. Can we say just now?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can say. So we're going to be searching a charcoal foot and seeing what's out there. So we're going to take you on a little bit of a journey. But before we do that, we wanted to almost start, where do we actually start? So if you're searching for, no matter what you're searching for, where do you go? Do you go to books? Do you go to journals? Where do you go? And we were having this discussion earlier, Sarah, and I had said to you, I mean, normally in kind of uni or college or wherever you're studying, you would go to books. And what was I said to you? As soon as it's published,
it's out of date. Yeah, so that's what we were. Oh, sorry.
It's essentially out of date. So essentially with books, it's essentially out of date as soon as it's published. So, when you're looking at research, it gives you, especially journals and databases and pulling that body of evidence, it can be overwhelming though, because in a textbook, it takes information and condenses it all in an easy format and easy to read. Whereas when you're faced with looking at a journal, it's like, there's just thousands, if not millions it's overwhelming. And how do you know where to look or where to search and what it means and all of that? So yeah, anyway, and I wanted to kind of put on it in terms of research. We were discussing, me and Sarah earlier on today, and I had brought up Sir Isaac Newton and a very famous quote from Sir Isaac Newton about the research that he did. And obviously, Newton, we'll all be familiar with Newton's work. And he famously said that if I have seen a little further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. And what he meant by that was that his research and the things that he managed to achieve in his lifetime was as a result of building on the work that people had done before him. And that really is the ethos of research. It's about knowing what's out there and then building upon it. So all of us as clinicians, whether you're a student, whether you've got your own private practice, by looking at research and looking what's out there, it helps us help our patients, and it helps us maybe see gaps and things that we could progress. It maybe inspire you to go on and do some of your own research, and it just helps us essentially grow and become more inquisitive, and it helps that building of that body of evidence to bring hopefully patients better outcomes in the long run. What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I suppose that was the other thing, is that the whole idea of this, as I said previously, is that we're trying to break down these barriers. And sometimes just the thought of where do I start is really the most intimidating. So we're going to bring you through baby steps. And I suppose that's where we're going to start today, is we're kind of going, okay, as you've said, like we would be the most familiar with books, we had textbooks in school and the library and all of that. But like that, once they're published, they're out of date. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a place for books. They're a great source for getting background information and overview on a topic and dealing with a particular topic. But really, the kind of evidence that we're working with, we focus more on journals. And as you said, there's millions of different journals. So, where do you start? Where can you access them? And how do you keep up to date? So we were kind of discussing that there's a few different databases that we would use. And we both agreed that PubMed is kind of maybe the easiest one to dip your toe into, excuse the pun, and the one that we both use. Was there any other ones, Esther, that you were saying?
Well, I mean, my master's was in public health, so I used the Cochrane Library quite a lot. That was quite specific for that particular subject, but I still used PubMed a lot. But the Cochrane Library was one that I mainly used, but primarily PubMed's just really easy. It's clean and it does, but yeah, it does, and it's specifically for medical. So it will pick up medical things. So a lot of the podiatry, even the foot and ankle journal, JFAR, it'll pick all that stuff up as well. So for us, it's a pretty good database to search. And also, if you were doing something like a systematic review, so if you were doing something where you're doing a research, right, you'd be searching a few databases,
like
but that's
Spinal and Scopus and all of these. Yeah, absolutely.
Why you're going to that database and things, but that's what we were going with this. So PubMed is a good, simple
starting point.
We're saying it's simple, but it's an excellent database. So if you're using PubMed, you're grand.
Yeah. So then I suppose, whatever your question is, or you want to delve into, so it is really vital that you break down your topic. So remember, we're kind of saying we might discuss Charcot foot, but I have a couple of examples just to give you an idea of what we mean. But by breaking down your topic, what will happen is you'll get the core concepts, or like the key terms or terminology that you really want to search for. And from there, you can decide a search strategy. So I know you're going, okay, Sarah, you're after throwing a few different words at me, but we'll show you. We have a couple of slides here, so I'll go through that. And then we've actually shown you a search strategy that Sarah Jane has gone through. So don't worry yet. But if we just pull up the slides, if you don't mind. Brilliant. So we're just trying to make these nice and clear. So if we just go on to the first one. Perfect. So there's a couple of searching basics. So hopefully at some point we'll be able to kind of add maybe advanced techniques and things, but let's just keep it simple. So you've got onto PubMed, that's the first step. And now you're going, okay, I really want to look something up. So what you can use is the term and what and does is it combines different concepts. So an example I just wrote down is, okay, you were decided you're interested in Pilates and you were going, I wonder if there's a link between Pilates and falls prevention. So instead of saying Pilates for falls prevention, if you add in the word and, like I have there in red, what it lets you do is it lets you find literature where these two concepts are together. So then when you run your search, you're getting everything that includes Pilates and falls prevention. And then if we go to the next slide. Perfect. So the other side of it then is, so, okay, you've decided you want to learn about falls, and you want to learn about Pilates and where they kind of meet. So the other thing you kind of need to think about when you're thinking of your basic search, so you're just getting started, is you need to think of the terminology. So for example, is there a couple of more ways to describe Pilates? So, a paper might be discussing Pilates, but have used a different term. So or synonyms. So that's one thing we need to think about. And then think, are they called different things in different countries? Or does the literature describe concepts in different ways? So this is just a really simple little one I pulled up today. And I just looked for synonyms of Pilates, or in different parts of the world, what do they call it? So these were just some of them. And then I looked up falls prevention, and really the only other terminology that came up was falling or accidental falls. So they're all my terminology, and I have them all in the bank. So if I go to the next part, then the next searching basics would be the use of or. So this is where people get confused, because they're going, oh my God, why am I using and, or why am I using or? So we use and when we want to put the two concepts together. And then we use or when we're talking about the same word, like Pilates, and then all of the synonyms or terminology that matches Pilates. So in this case, I've done Pilates or mind-body exercise or contrology or yoga or exercise, and to put all of those concepts together with falls. And then I did falls or falls prevention or accidental falls. So now I'm gathering everything that could come up with those two. And then on to the next one. Sorry. And then, now this, don't worry too much about it, but, and I pronounce it wrong anyways. So truncation. Thanks. Basically, it's by using an asterisk, you'll find multiple word endings. So if you did fall with an asterisk, it would include falling, fallen, falls. Or if you did prevent, it would include prevention, preventative. So for example, I didn't quite finish the word, I just did educate and then the asterisk, and you'll use education, educated, educating. So they're kind of three main things, new words that you would use during your basic search, and then also just have a really good think around the terminology. So they're just things to think about to get you started. So then we just have an example then by using Charcot foot. So SJ has done earlier today, did a search strategy, if you want to chat through it.
Yeah, so I've made a video for this, so let me just do the screen share. So let's go for this. So Michael's in the back end. What do we need to do here, Michael? You're just going to add me, and then I can just play this.
In the background, indeed. SJ, all you need to do is just play the video and put it on full screen, and I'll pop it up on the screen for you there. There we go. I can see it just now.
Oh, and will I just hit play? Is that it? Hello, SJ.
And Sod's Law, it always needs to reload. Don't worry, we'll get there.
Hello, SJ here from the Rehab Hub in Glasgow. Happy to be presenting how to do a paid wall, which is great, so you can generally get a hold of the articles. Not all of them, but the majority of them. So let's show you around PubMed. Now, if you've not been on PubMed, don't worry, it's pretty easy to use. And if you're fairly familiar with it, maybe we can I'll show you a wee bit more advanced searching on it. Now, one of the things that I learned on my master's that I did was when I was kind of trying to maybe scope out my project, like do a bit of a dirty search. I always thought that was a funny one, but that was one of the Edinburgh University, they kind of do your dirty search first. So essentially, just look at everything, go onto Google Scholar and just read around the subject, whether it's books, just go and get the terms, the terminology, absorb yourself in that world. And that really helps you with your search strategy or something that you're interested in. Even just having conversation with others that have similar interests, it will just help you just get ideas, but building out your search strategy for this as well. So tonight we're going to be looking at charcoal foot, and this is not a subject that I am by any way an expert on, but it's one that I thought, let's do something that I've not really looked at since my undergrad. So from here, charcoal foot, we're going to just pop this and we're going to do a bit of a dirty search on it and see what comes up. So I'm putting it into this search bar here and I'm just going to see what comes up. So can you see down here, 172 results have come up. Now, this is pretty basic search that I've done. I've basically just put in charcoal foot, what comes up. I've not told the database any specific date ranges. I've said from any date to this, so 1894 to 2022. That's quite a big date range. So you probably narrow that down. But I've basically just said, give me everything that's out there. I've not restricted the type of study. So I've said everything that's out there. I've not specifically said I only want systematic reviews or I only want a clinical trial. I've just said whatever you like. So it's just given me everything. Now, what I would normally do when I'm doing a search is I usually go and see here, this advanced search. Now, this advanced search is also, if I just hit the back button to show you, see how on that first window we went to, you've got this little advanced search. So usually when I've kind of scoped out, I've done a wee bit of reading around. So when I have put in that charcoal foot, and it's come up with those 172 papers, I might just kind of have a wee glance at some of them and just maybe read the titles and the abstract and get a wee bit of a kind of, right, okay, and then read around it. And then from reading around and getting a wee bit more knowledge around that subject, I then from there do an advanced search. So when I hit the advanced search, this is the window that I go into. So this looks a wee bit more scary, but it's not. So trust me, it's pretty easy. So you can see down here, which is great with the advanced search, you can see that it's saved my search history. And I can click on that and go back into all those results again. And you can get to it by there as well, just by hitting that advanced, and it keeps a wee log of this. And if you create an account, you can actually keep a log of all your searches and things, so you can keep track of them all if you're so inclined. So what we're going to do is we're going to expand, well, we're not going to expand, we're going to get a wee bit more specific with this search. So all we've done is we've done a big search on charcoal foot. So let's get a wee bit more specific. So we're going to do maybe charcoal foot and look at some treatment for charcoal foot. Now, charcoal foot, what you find is that with most things, things are phrased differently, and different experts will call things by different terms. And that's why reading around whatever you're searching for and getting into the kind of lingo in the mind and the mind of, getting to know what the terms and the way that things are called, you get to learn those phrases and those keywords. And that really helps you when you're searching, because if you don't have that information, you might be missing stuff and you don't know what you're missing. So the more you kind of read around stuff and get into whatever it is you're looking for, the better. So one of the other terms that might be used for charcoal foot is charcoal foot or charcoal foot syndrome. So what we're going to do is we're going to be using or and we'll discuss what the significance of both of them are. So if I put in here charcoal foot or charcoal foot syndrome and treatment, right? So let's actually, what does this mean, and what am I telling this database to look for? Because understanding your ors and your ands will, no matter what you're searching for, it will massively change what you get. So I am basically, with that or being in there, telling this database, I want you to go and find anything that has charcoal foot in it or has charcoal foot syndrome in it. So I'm telling it, I want to see everything. Or it can say charcoal foot, or it can say charcoal syndrome. I want all of that. Okay, does that make sense? However, and treatment, if I had put or treatment, can you see how that wouldn't make any sense? Because I'd be saying, I want that as well. I want to tell this database by putting this in this way, charcoal foot or charcoal foot syndrome and treatment, I'm saying it can say anything in terms of the charcoal foot and charcoal foot syndrome, but it needs to have treatment in the paper as well. So when we do that, we'll add that in, hit the search. So you can see how that goes down the query box. And then, so I just basically all I did there was hit the add that, and that goes down there. And then I hit search, and I've got 1,193 results. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back into that button. So we hit advanced, and I can see that it's saved the data. PubMed has saved that search. So I've went from 1,719 to 1,193. That's quite a lot as well, isn't it? You only want to be sifting through all that. But, we want to get it down to a couple of hundred anyway. Now, we can do phase searching. So say, for example, you were like, actually, I want to maybe search charcoal foot, but I want it to be surgical management. And let's see what comes up with that. So I don't want any other management for charcoal foot. I want papers that have been published that only have charcoal foot and surgical management. Okay, so what you would do in those circumstances is you would put in charcoal foot and you would use and surgical management. So when we do that, we add that and then search it and let's see what happens. 13 results. That's looking a bit more easy to get through. And again, we've not, there's some way down at 2004. Do you want to be going to be down that long? I don't know. Maybe you do. I don't know what you're looking at. But so it sometimes can be quite interesting to read older papers as well. And you can actually maybe reverse engineer some papers because remember, we're building on the knowledge with research. So it can be quite interesting to see how that research has progressed and how the treatments have progressed over the 20 years now, nearly that is. So now we've got charcoal foot, 1,700 results. Charcoal foot or charcoal foot syndrome and treatment, 1,200 results just about there. And then we're saying, nope, I just want the charcoal foot and surgical management, 13 results. Okay. Now, what about, say we were like, all right, okay, so that's surgical results. What about other treatments for charcoal foot? I quite like to have a wee look. So what we could do is by reading around the papers, we've got some keywords, we've learned some key ways that things are maybe described. Because if you're treating something, somebody might call treatment therapy, or somebody might call it management, somebody might call it rehabilitation. So there's all these different terms, but generally they all mean the same. So you kind of need a way to put those words in there so that the database knows, because it doesn't know if you don't tell it. So you have to tell it to search for those keywords. So what we do is we go in, back up, and we can go to charcoal foot, and it's got to have treatment. Now see what we're doing here? It's got the or therapy, or management, or rehabilitation. Right. So basically what that's telling this database to do is find my charcoal foot, but it needs to have treatment. So see how that big and, that's an and, that's really important. And then you've got the treatment, but therapy or management or rehabilitation. So it could be any of them. So let's add that in and see what comes up. 379, not a bad result. So now we've got, so hopefully you're kind of seeing how we can play about with this and find some different papers. So we can see that in the surgical management of it, there weren't very many papers, even just leaving that without discussing and looking at narrowing it down to specific types of studies. Me and Sarah decided, let's not get too specific with that just now. Let's just get you on the database and starting to search. But essentially, you could totally go down the searching, particular types of studies, systematic reviews, or clinical trials, or randomized controlled trials, whatever. You could be really specific in what it is you're looking for. And there is that hierarchy of research, but you've got to ask yourself, well, what is it? Why am I doing it? What is it I'm wanting? I know for me, when I'm studying, so during my master's, and I'm just about to start my PhD, so I'll have specific types of databases that I'll need to search depending on what I'm looking for. But when I'm in my clinical practice, in my private practice, if sometimes actually reading a case study can be really, really helpful. So do I want to just disregard that just because it's not seen as the hierarchy of research? No, you just have to bear in mind where that sits and not kind of take verbatim what you're reading. Always have that kind of acquisitive, questioning mind. But, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have some use there and can't help you. Certainly, I know in my private practice, if I'm building out my treatment protocols, and how do I know how many sessions that person's going to need for tibialis posterior dysfunction? How do I actually really know? What is the research telling me? So it's important I just kind of keep up to date with that and keep reading around the subject and seeing what's out there. And I can easily come onto PubMed and see if there's any new articles being published. I can read around and actually maybe a different approach, or there's different things. So I'm always trying to be as evidence-based as I can. And it can be as simple as that. Nobody's saying you have to do big complex searches, but it's just about hopefully just, me and Sarah were saying, we would just love to have you go on and just have a play, just play about and see what you find. Now, I want to show you this feature before I go, because I know I'm rabbiting on. Now, see how down here you've got this search, right? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, right, and the wee hashtag. Now, these are fabulous. Now, I clearly don't get out much, right? But say, for example, I wanted to combine these searches, I can do it really easily here. Now, if I wanted to combine, maybe I wanted to combine charcoal and say, for example, I wanted to, let's see, we'll do hashtag. So what you do, you go up to the search and you type in hashtag. So you could combine one search with another. So you could do shackle foot. So we could do the search for. So that's search for is the hashtag for shackle foot and treatment and therapy. So say, for example, I wanted to search that, but I also wanted to maybe add in the surgical one to make sure that, because I don't know right now if those surgical ones are in the treatment one. I'd imagine they will be, but let's combine them and see. So all I would do is I would just go and hashtag 3. Let's see what happens. I would imagine that they will be, but let's see. And 13 results, yes. So we can see there, all I've done is combined search 3 and search 4 together, and we can see that this is where. So I've basically said that it has to have that. So kind of knew that that would be the same, but it's just to show you that you could totally have different searches and combine them and use your ands and your ors to eliminate or add in something. So that excites you. I don't know, I'm like a big kid with this sort of stuff, but that is PubMed. Now with this stuff, when you click on these, right, that takes you to those databases. And then if I wanted to go in, so you can see how this is a free article, most on here will be, right? You can see free. Some of them, so I'll show you what it's like when you open it up. So if I click on this, I can see it was published in the Diabetic Foot and Ankle. It was published in 2013. So let's just jump into this and we can see it. And this will usually just give you your abstract. Next week or next month, we're going to be going over, getting into the paper a bit more, and what it all means and what it's telling you and how to read it a bit better, how to make sense of it all. So if you click, see over there, so this is your DOI number, right? So that's like everything, like books, and this is like your reference number for the journal. So if I click that, that will just take me to the article and I can go away and read it, and I've got access to it, and you can download it. Usually you can just get the PDF. So if you go up there, you can just download the PDF and that's yours. And a lot of them are for free. So there we are. Look at this. Fantastic. Right, so we can see these surgical management of shackle foot. So if that floats your boat, it's definitely not my my expertise, but it is, just to show you. I wanted to do a search where I wasn't even sure what was going to show up. So thought, let's just go and see what's out there. But that's pretty cool, actually. Right, I hope that debunks it a little bit. I want to see you go on to PubMed and just searching and see what you come up with. Try different search strategies. Just play. Honestly, just play.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was on like 1.2 speed there. I don't know.
I noticed. But no, it was so good to
Probably
see.
a good thing. It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, definitely, because I think it's until you see the and the or being used, and then once you've seen it, I think it does make sense. Like I know they call it basic searching, but until you've actually seen someone do it, it can be really get really
Confusing.
confused or put you off doing it. So yeah, no, definitely watching you do a search of something, especially that you weren't comfortable with, just shows how accessible it really is. And I suppose that's the main thing we're trying to send home today.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going to come up there. So it was like, so it could have been anything, could have been nothing. But that just, and deliberately wanted to do that because it wasn't a subject that really I've searched since I think 4th year at uni. So yeah, but hopefully we're hoping that the whole idea behind this was really just to try and debunk it, wasn't it, Sarah? Just to make it simple and easy and not, I don't know, something really complex and difficult. This is about making it accessible and useful. And then hopefully in the next month, what we would love you to do, right? Ask us questions. See on this video, it'll live on this page, wherever you are watching. Just put questions in even if there's stuff you want us to search. Like, go away and search, go into PubMed, have a play, just play, experiment what comes up. And then what we're going to do next time is actually go through, right, now that you've got some stuff that you're interested in, because sometimes papers can be really like, what is that even saying? What does that tell me? Because sometimes it can be, it just doesn't tell you much.
Yeah, and the other side of it is, I think, I know for ourselves, and when I was in college, we were told to critique a paper, and we're using things like CASP and all of that. But I think when you hear the word critique right away, you're going, oh God, what are they on about? But I suppose next week we're really just planning on, let's break it down. This is what this part means. This is what this part means. And then these are things that you might see, and then you can form your opinion on that from there. So yeah, but first
I think it's like that.
I'm
not going to ask anybody to write an essay. You can if you like. But yeah, it's about, and I kind of alluded to that in that video. It was about, we didn't want to go into too much about the hierarchy of research.
No,
but
not yet.
essentially, so you've got your systematic reviews and things that are like your top of the pecking order, but everything has its place.
Yeah.
And everything has its use, but it's about knowing or reading something and thinking, okay, who's the author? There's loads of different things, but who's sponsored it? It's a big pile of money. Are they trying to sell me something? Just be a wee bit curious and read it with a little bit of suspicion.
And I think that does take practice as well. So it's not that you'll read a paper and be able to break it down straight away, but the more that you the more searching you do, the better you get at searching. The more papers you read, it's much easier then to scan out bits and be like, okay, right, that's a huge limitation. But that's not how I initially started at all. But it's just with practice, and that's the plan, as we said, for next week, that we kind of break it down, signpost it a little bit free, so that at least when you're reading through it, you're going, okay, yeah, no, I know what they mean now. That is a limitation. Or, geez, that sample size is small when you think about it. Okay. And then you can start to form your own opinion. So yeah, that's the plan anyways.
Hopefully we're not confusing everybody even worse.
No, we're definitely not. No, we're not. No, definitely not. But yeah, it'd be great if you have any questions about searching, if you have a topic that you feel like maybe it's too big or maybe it's too specific and you're not finding anything for, it would be great if you popped it in the comments and we can maybe go through it next week.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Fab. Have we got anything else to add?
Don't think so. No.
We'll see everybody in about 4 weeks' time. So December, is it 4? I think it's 4 weeks' time. I'm sure the dates will be up.
Yes, yeah.
Oz will speak. The voice
That's
from
perfect.
hell. Yeah, fab. Thanks again, Sarah. Thanks everybody for talking.
Well, the voice from above might say you might be back next in December if you really want to be, but we might be looking into the new year as well.
Okay, perfect.
Gives you loads of time to put a paper in the comments, so guys, if you don't mind. So thanks a million for listening. Please carry out at least one search, and we will see you in the new year.
Thank you. Bye.